This video features the best brawlers you need to be playing in February 2025 with the new season and the new brawler. Let's see how much the meta has shifted so far. Alright guys, the first brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Penny. Now Penny was already a pretty good brawler because of the buff to her main attack range. Penny's main attack range was increased from 8 tiles to 8.67 tiles, which helps her a bit more against the mid to longer range brawlers. Granted, it's still not really good and the projectiles aren't the fastest, but Penny's the strongest she's ever been in a very long time. Now overall, when you're just facing like a really good Penny player, I mean, they can be really toxic to deal with. Penny is a brawler that forces the enemies to not group up and stay far apart from each other if they don't want to get destroyed by the splash damage. This makes facing Penny already annoying to deal with when stacking on top of the mortar, firing at the nearest target and leaving the ground on fire. Penny is definitely an underrated controller within the game, and it's about time she's seeing her chance in the spotlight. But the true reason why Penny is not one of the best brawlers in the game is because of her hypercharged new lobber. Penny deploys a bigger cannon that shoots 2 cannonballs at a time instead of 1. This makes Penny even more frustrating to deal with, since having 2 cannonballs cover the map instead of 1 makes it even easier for Penny to deal damage and get kills to gain control of the map. If you are facing a Penny that has her hypercharge, it's more important than ever before to take down that mortar as quickly as you can. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Gus. Now Gus's super is such a great way for him to carry his entire team. If you are playing with a bunch of randoms, then you can use your super onto yourself every time and just increase your survivability so you can try your best to cause pressure by yourself. Even though Gus is a support brawler, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to carry your team. Now sometimes just using your super onto yourself is the best way to get the most amount of value out of Gus's spirit animal star power. Whoever you use your super onto next will be able to deal an extra 25% damage for the next 5 seconds. And this can truly come in clutch in whatever game mode you are playing in. You can use your super onto yourself, gain the shield, and then go aggro to defeat a weak enemy with the additional damage buff. Now yes, of course spirit animal is going to be a great star power for Gus, but let's not forget about his amazing gadget, Cookie Popper. When activated, all spirits on the map explode, dealing 20 to 40 damage to the enemies. This is such a great way to defeat the enemies that are lower than 20 to 40 health when that ghost spawns next to them. As soon as you connect with your shot, you need to be spamming your gadget button so you instantly pop that ghost and defeat the enemy. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Frank. Now Frank has cracked this list because of the rework to his main attack delay and the addition of his hypercharge. Frank's main attack delay now decreases whenever his health gets lower. This has made Frank completely broken because his attack cooldown when he is about to die is basically nothing. This allows him to basically kill anybody in the game as long as he has the ammo for it. And of course we can't forget about how good Frank's hypercharge is as well. Frank will be able to fire his super from all directions in a huge radius, and this helps with keeping the enemies far away from him first off, but secondly it's harder for the enemies to escape its range once they are within it. Also consider that the hypercharged charge rate isn't extremely difficult to achieve like Miko's for example. It makes getting it and using it even more game breaking. Now considering how bad Frank was before he got these reworks, buffs, and hypercharge, I mean it's refreshing to see him in the meta once again. I mean Frank used to be an absolutely painful brawler to play because the enemies could easily just run out of your main attack range or your super's range before it actually lands on the ground. But with the changes to Frank, he's become a lot more playable, a lot more annoying, but I think it's definitely deserved for a brawler that was stuck at the bottom of the meta for so long. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Nita. Now one of the best things about Nita is Bruce, and it's because he has moderately high health and this allows Nita to create her own tank. With Bruce distracting the enemy and absorbing fire, this protects Nita and gives her a chance to deal damage. When facing a brawler with non-piercing attacks, place Bruce a few tiles in front of you to make them waste their ammo onto him, and during which you and Bruce can effectively finish off the opponents. Now in this very aggressive tank and assassin meta, you need to be using Nita and combining her with their Bear With Me star power. The unfortunate thing is that you do need Bruce to use his main attacks to heal you up, but as long as you are hitting the enemies, at least you can keep Bruce alive yourself. So in being pressured by short range brawlers, the chances of Bruce and you hitting the enemies are much higher. This allows both of you to heal up and deal damage at the same time. Now even if you don't play Nita in Heist because that's her best game mode, no matter where you play her, one of the things that will guarantee make her better is her hypercharge hyperbearing. Just having a tankier Bruce that moves faster will cause the enemies to panic and cause immediate pressure in whatever game mode you are playing in. Take advantage of those stat buffs that you can use for yourself to keep Bruce alive and cycle up that next super. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Otis. Now Otis is a really good brawler now because of his DPS output. With Otis dealing 920 damage minimum per ink drop at max level, I mean that's pretty damn good. If you multiply that by 3 ink drops, that's already 2760 for 1 bar of ammo. Plus if you're running the ink refill star power, which I highly recommend, you can deal 3680 damage for 1 bar of ammo. Of course with the damage gear active, you'll be dealing even more damage. So yeah, I think you guys get the idea at this point. But not only is Otis's DPS very good, I mean, he has a great super that can shut down any brawler in the entire game. Otis has such an amazing super that will mute the enemy whoever Syl is attached to for the next 3 seconds. That is great when being pressured by tanks and assassins that can deal a lot of damage up close, or that can deal a lot of damage in general. This super allows Otis and his teammates to secure kills a lot easier because you can capitalize when the enemies can attack or do anything to gain pressure. But the true reason why Otis has risen up so high in the meta is because of his hypercharged silent stunner. When activated, Otis's next super will stun enemies for 1.5 seconds upon impact. This is pretty much like an overkill that makes Otis's super that much deadlier. Most of the time when you mute the enemy for 3 seconds, you can burst him down with all of your ammo no problem. But now with the hypercharge stunning the enemy for 1.5 seconds, it would just make it even easier, especially since you have the stat buffs from the hypercharge as well. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Barry. Now people really underestimate Barry because he is a thrower, but he is extremely good and annoying to deal with. If you think about it, Barry is basically a better version of Barley, so you want to be covering up as much ground as possible to stop the enemies from crossing a choke point or getting to wherever they need to go during the match. Remember that Barry is technically considered a support brawler because that's the class he belongs to, so use your attacks to heal up your teammates for the next 6 seconds, or even use it on yourself to keep yourself alive. Now one of the best things about Barry is he can charge up his super by healing up himself or his teammates. This is guaranteed something that's going to really frustrate the enemy team, especially if Barry isn't hitting any shots onto the enemies. He can still heal his teammates and charge up his super at the same time. Like, who thought that was a good idea? If you can somehow position yourself to use your super so you can travel over both of your teammates, this will help them stay alive, but also help you get the most amount of value out of your super. Now something that makes Barry even tougher to deal with is going to be his Floor's Fine Star Power. Having that increased reload speed by 50% will make it easier for Barry to keep parts of the map locked down with his ice cream and help him get more kills. If you have the ammo to spare, standing on your own ice cream puddles can be a useful strategy to ensure that you are getting all the buffs possible to help you win the game. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Maisie. Now the reason why Maisie is a really good brawler now is because of all the buffs that she got throughout the second half of 2024. She received a buff to her supercharge rate and 2 buffs to her main attack damage. The main attack damage buffs is the thing that really put Maisie over the top and brought her back into the meta. About this time last year, Maisie wasn't really the greatest, but she is finally back yet again. But kind of like Otis, a reason why Maisie is so good is because she gives you a great counter to a lot of the other top meta brawlers in the game. Maisie can defend herself well against close range brawlers, so try to use this to your advantage by either dashing away or pushing back close range brawlers to sneak up onto you like tanks and assassins. With the added slow from her Tremor Star Power, you can also efficiently charge your super due to the enemies being slowed. Now speaking of Maisie's Tremor Star Power, I mean that's one of the amazing things about Maisie's kit. Her super combined with her Tremor Star Power and Disengage gadget can make the enemy drop the ball, push them away from the goal, stun them briefly, slow them down, or provide any area control if the enemies are grouped up together to defend their goal. This makes Maisie a highly versatile brawler in Brawl Ball because her very fast supercharge rate and high damage output allows her to eliminate enemies quickly if they're fired accurately. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Juju. Now when playing Juju, I really recommend staying on the normal ground most of the time when facing close range brawlers. As long as you can outrange the enemy or don't have any problems connecting your shots, you want to be standing on the ground to deal that extra damage. You can't ever go wrong with dealing more damage, so try and lane brawlers or play on maps where you can stay on the ground most of the time. Now another part of Juju's kit that's still broken after all these months is going to be her Numbing Needle Star Power. Enemies hit by Juju's super attacks will be slowed down for 1 second. If Gregory wasn't already broken enough, having this star power will make it harder for brawlers like tanks and assassins to escape Gregory, and even make him a defensive tool to help Juju stay alive when being pressured hard. But if you think about it, think about throwers like Juju, Barry, the twins, and even Barley, how good they are. I mean, this is just such a good thrower meta. Now there's a lot of people out there saying Juju's falling off, or some people are still thinking she's one of the best brawlers in the game, and I can see both sides. But with Juju, her kit and mechanics are so versatile, and that's what makes Juju so frustrating to deal with. She's got the damage, the range, the slow, she can walk on water, and she's a thrower. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Lou. Now Lou is a really solid brawler because of the buff to his reload speed. Lou's reload time was decreased from 1.3 seconds to 1.1 seconds. This allows Lou to gain back ammo a lot quicker, and when combined with his supercharge gear, this helps Lou to hit more shots and charge up his super faster. Now speaking of Lou's super, I mean that's guaranteed one of the best aspects of Lou's entire kit. Since his super makes enemies slow down and makes maneuvering much harder, enemies will attempt to escape by moving in the same direction, which makes attacks easier to hit and enemy movements to be more predictable. Also just freezing up the enemies in general is super clutch to getting them down and locking down a part of the map. But to amplify Lu's super to the next level is gonna be his hypercharged slushy storm. When activated, whenever Lu drops his super, any enemy near the landing spot gets stunned. Even without the hypercharge, you can run his Kraus syrup gadget to instantly add 50% of the enemy's frost meter to anybody that is standing on your super. Alright guys, the next brawler we're gonna be talking about is gonna be Stu. Now Stu is a great hard carry brawler if you have low ping. Stu has the easiest super to charge in the entire game, and that makes him perfect for frustrating the enemy team. By using your super to double, triple, or even quadruple dash, you can distract the enemy team and dodge incoming projectiles to survive. But even if you don't have low ping, like Stu's kit in general is just too good. No matter if you're using Stu's speed zone or gadget to help your teammates move faster, or if you're running breakthrough to destroy the map to your liking, you can't go wrong with either gadget. And the same thing goes for Stu's star powers. Zero drag is a great star power to make it easier to dodge incoming projectiles and travel further across the map. However, a lot of really good Stu players run Gasol Heal because it overall helps Stu's ability to go aggro and stay alive longer. Well, anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed that video, I highly recommend you guys go check out this video right here.